Thanks for joining. My name is Larry Wade. This is the Oregon Carvers Guild and the Carving Special Interest Group of the Guild of Oregon Woodworkers in the Portland metro area. Many of you I know, some of you I don't. So for those of us that are strangers, welcome. We have been doing these monthly since the beginning of Zoom because we couldn't get out and couldn't get together. And we find it convenient. Portland is not as big as some metro areas, but the commuting time to get to a meeting is a hassle. So Zoom becomes a great leveler for that. I think if you're not muted, would you please mute yourself? I can mute you, and I will if we discover dogs barking or planes going over, those kind of things. And as I said, if you're from outside the metro area, Portland metro area, click on your face on your screen and rename yourself with just a pen where you're from, and that would help us. If you have questions, please type them in the chat, and I'll feed them to Scott as we go along. It's a little hard to get a bunch of questions shouted out as we go along. The only announcement I have is that next month on March 10th, our monthly meeting will be a whole series of little video clips of favorite really good movies, things that people might not know about, things that we've done in the last 6 years of programs that we've done, but more importantly about commercial videos where some surprised people don't know who Chris Pye is or Mary May is or Leroy Setzel is or Nora Hall is, and there are various things like that. There will be a couple minutes of just clips and teasers, and then you'll get a handout of where to watch the full video of some of those ideas kind of float your boat. I met Scott because of COVID and met him online. We were just restarting our club in the summer of 2020, so we were only 3 months into COVID. And I made a cold call to Gary Hensley, who is the president of the California Carvers Guild, not even knowing what the California Carvers Guild was about. And he was very generous with his time. And I asked him who's doing anything online so that I could participate with them. And he said, well, the only one that he knew was Scott and the club in Morro Bay. And Morro Bay is, I'll let Scott describe where Morro Bay is in a minute, but it's on the coast. And so I joined the club and been there ever since. I've only made one physical visit, but the group has a small group that meets twice a month. And it's been a great boon. I would say, from my perspective, Scott's club is the best one that I've seen.
Wow.
So you can don't take it to head, but they meet weekly. They meet weekly, and they got a core group that does a lot of carving. And I haven't met. There's a lot of clubs around, so I'm just saying from the ones I know. So thank you, Scott, for letting strangers from outside the area participate and being a mentor to us. Scott was a presenter a couple of years ago on making a knife out of a jigsaw blade, and that program is recorded on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it anytime you want. And if you have trouble finding it, let me know, but you can find it on our OregonCarvers.org website under galleries, video galleries, and you'll be able to find all past programs there, which is great. So Scott will be, I think, using that knife as one of his two tonight. This is a program that will focus on one advanced topic on the bird in the cage, but then under the question and answers, we can stump the jock. We can ask Scott any questions and put him on the spot. And he has a perfectly good right to say, I don't know, or I'll have to think about it, or whatever, right? And I told Scott, we're amongst friends here. This is, even though there's a fairly large group of 25 people, we're all friends. We're not live TV. We get to do what we want. So Scott, why don't you get started? I'm going to spotlight you, and then I will kind of moderate the chat, and we can get started.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, welcome everybody. Um, I guess I should say that I've been carving for most of my life. Started when I was 11 in Boy Scouts, um, summer camp. Uh, my scoutmaster was carving a ball in a cage on a chain, and that mesmerized me. And I've been a wood carver ever since. It also didn't hurt that my family took a trip uh, summer of 1970, all the way over to uh, South Dakota. And we went to the Black Hills of South Dakota and Mount Rushmore. But the one that I really found interesting was they were carving the Crazy Horse Monument out of a mountain, and that was interesting. But what was more interesting was the museum and gallery of the artist who thought up the Crazy Horse Monument design. And he had a whole bunch of carvings in there. He was a wood carver, and that was just mesmerizing to me. And a lot of Native American carvings and different styles. And so between those two things, I was thoroughly bitten, and I have been carving ever since. Um, I think it took me about 5 or 6 years to get fairly decent, and it's taken me 50 plus years to get where I'm at, where I feel like pretty comfortable to get in front of you folks and talk about carving. So, uh, the bird in the cage concept came around as an outgrowth basically around, it was about 1979. I think I was had carved a few chains and balls in cages, and that was fun. But then I just had this idea, why don't you carve a bird in a cage? I don't think anybody's ever done that. And so I gave it a try. I gave it a bunch of tries, and learned a lot on each try that was unsuccessful. And then um, now I carve one every year for our Christmas ornament exchange, and it's pretty popular. People love to do it. We've actually had a class in our chapter club on how to carve a bird in a cage, and so I thought, well, we can go ahead and do this, sure. So um, the first thing I would say that's important in carving a bird in a cage is wood selection. Um, if you're going to use a softwood like pine or basswood, I say softwood. I mean a wood that's soft to carve, not a softwood, because basswoods are considered hard. Basswood is a hardwood, but um, the softwoods tend to present a challenge in the fact that they might break easily. We do have, I found that a harder wood like walnut or maple tends to break less often. Walnut is actually a pretty good wood to carve a bird in a cage out of. But what I'm doing this time here, this is a basswood bird in a cage. Um, I recommend that if you're going to do a basswood bird in a cage, to not be afraid of using cyanoacrylate glue to help uh, stabilize and strengthen the cross grain areas of the carving so that you won't be disappointed with the result. So I guess I'll just go ahead. Do you want me to get started here, Larry? You want?
Yeah, you're ready to go, Scott. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera here. Let's see here. Over to the IPVO. Here we are. Oh, pardon me. Get the otter out of the way. Um, so I start out with a block, And this is a block that, as you can see, 4 inches by 2 inches, two inches on a side, 4 inches long. And I go ahead and put my center line all the way around, and then I decide which way I want to have the grain running, to be able to put the perch and what I consider the least strong parts of the carving. And what I found is that if you can orient that, that's the bottom. I draw a circle on the bottom and I divide by drawing across the diagonals. Don't mind the washer. That's I made a caddy that's got magnets in it, and that's what I use to carry these around. The washer clanks onto the magnet and it holds it in there. But
Scott, I'm going to interrupt just for a second. I think it would be helpful actually to show the finished bird and cage
okay,
just defining the perch and the
sure.
various components. So we're on that we can visualize the end game
Okay, let me
kind of thing.
made out of a 3 inch piece of black walnut, and you can see this. Now, the difference between this bird in a cage and the other birds in a cage is it has an additional link linking the cage to the perch. You can see that. In the one that we'll be doing tonight, it's just the perch and the cage. There's no link in there. But this
So
is
this one also doesn't have a knob on the top. Is that right? Am I
right.
seeing it
Yeah, no
correctly?
no knob on the top.
What do you
Yep.
call that knob?
Oh,
Oh, a knob.
a ring.
A
The
ring.
the the ring that you hang it from, I guess it would be a ring.
Okay.
So, but yeah, this one I carved in 1984 or 82. Oh, it says 86 on the bottom, but I think it took me from about 1984 to 1986. So, but um, so this is the idea. This is bird in a cage, all one piece of wood, pretty
So
delicate.
the trapeze is swinging, but the bird is fixed on the
Yeah, the
trapeze.
bird is fixed on the trapeze. And here, I'll switch back to the other camera for a sec here, and I can show you. So here is the bird in a cage. The bird and the trapeze are together, and then um, on the one we'll be carving, the trapeze goes directly to the cage. There is no link in it, but
Okay.
this is your bird in a cage, parrot in a cage. You can carve any kind of bird you want in there, actually. So um, it's it's uh, it's your choice. But is that is that what you wanted?
That's great. That helps. That helps me. I think that's good. You can keep
Uh,
going.
all right, back to the thing here. So uh, on our on this block here, what we're going to do is round it, and then also up here, this part has to come out because this is you can see where the ring is going to be up here. And so all of this wood, I measured down about 3/4 of an inch here. And you can measure down an inch depending on how industrious you want to be, how big you want your bird to be. Uh, I don't recommend going any shorter than 3 inches on the cage. So, but what you're going to do is you're going to carve. I make this circle on the bottom here, and you're going to take off these corners, and then each corner, and then come back around and round to to your center line until you get a fairly round cylinder. And on this upper part, you take this wood out, until you have a tab up on the top. And I can show you what that looks like. Number 2 here. So after you've done all that carving, this is what the outer portion of the cage looks like. And as you can see on the bottom, you've got the markings for where you let's see. Yes, oh, there we go. That way. Where you located. It's important to draw the X's on the bottom before you do the circle, because that tells you where the spars are going to be. The spars of the cage are going to be where each one of these lines is. So that helps you to space them evenly. And you draw them through then, and some of the center line through the perch is running up through the ring as well. The center line for the bird runs perpendicular to the ring. And I try to have the grain of the wood running this way through the perch so that it provides I don't know if there's any truth to it or not. It just seems to me like it works better, that it provides a little more structural strength to the perch. And so once you get that all lined up like that, and then on each of your lines, you draw the lines, and then I go about 1/8 of an inch on each side of the line, and that gives you kind of the boundaries between the air and where the spar is going to be. And you can see I've drawn 1/8 inch on each side, so you have just about 1/4 inch spar area. And so that's how you start. The knife that I use to carve the outside of the bird is this one here, and this is a it's not a drop point knife. It's I don't know exactly what you call that. What I call it is an old pocket knife that the handle broke on it, and I made a new handle for it. And it's an old frost cutlery knife. But why I use this curved blade is because it works really well. It's hard to get down here when cutting on these areas here. You can take or you can right up.
Steve, Scott, your voice is cutting out off and on for some reason. Maybe it's my ears. I'm going to switch mine to make sure it's not me.
Where the then through here, maybe. How's that? That better? Might be mic on my. I think it's mic from the IPVO here. Is that better? Oh, why is there a washer on the bottom of the cylinder? Because you'll notice there's a washer on each one of the bottoms of the cylinder. And that's because I made a caddy. I glued. So this is each of the stages of carving a bird in cage. Thing there and doesn't move, and that's why there's a magnet down in the bottom of the caddy, and the washer just clanks onto that magnet, and it keeps it in there. So anyway, back to so when you're making it runs up, and you just run up all through that. That's why I like that curve. And then you can, and just,
You're cutting in and out. We can't hear you.
Yeah, Scott, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
For some reason, I don't, you're fine now, just absolutely perfect. But for some reason, you're going silent for a bit.
Huh.
You keep going. We'll try to uh,
Me,
just don't move your head too much further from where you're at now, in case your microphone on your computer is.
okay. How's that? We're
Yeah,
better there?
yeah. Why don't you
Okay.
move the walnut bird out of the way too?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
All right. So, so this, once you've done your stop cuts here, like this, and then you come back in and you just keep deepening them. And then what'll happen is that you pop that out like that, and you can see it's coming out, and you get the edge, and then you just make a stop cut at the bottom here and do the same thing, angle cuts in. Just keep doing that all the way around the bird, and you end up with this. And you can sneak inside of these here really easily with this curved blade. That's why I use this curved blade for the outside of the bird, pretty much. And then I switch over to my other knife for the inside of the blade, and for the inside of the cage. So just pop stuff out. One of the things I recommend too is that when you're carving on the bird in the cage, it's mostly stop cuts and angling cuts. And you want to make the stop cut, angle your other cut into it. If the chip doesn't pop out, make the stop cut again. Don't try and pry the chip out with your knife. It won't. I have a saying: prying causes crying, and it really does. You tend to end up levering against one of the spars or something like that, and it will break, and that will make you sad. So um, anyway, once you get to this, stage here, then you want to, if you're carving in softwood, where the weak parts of the cage are going to be is right up here along the top, right in this area right here. And that's because it switches from going with the grain to going across the grain right here. And so this is going to be the weakest part. And what I recommend is to use a ultra thin cyanoacrylate glue. And what you do is just dribble it right along the top of each one of the spars to soak into the vessels and then solidify and strengthen those vessels before you continue on carving. And that will keep you from having untoward events happen. So,
So Scott,
uh,
you drew the pencil lines back on for the spars,
right.
and then how do you know how deep to go at this step?
Well, what I do well, first off, you know that the spars are going to be hollow. It's going to be hollow on the backside of the spar. So I do about a quarter inch. The spar is about a quarter inch, an eighth inch on each side of the line. And then what I do is I do that quarter inch in. So it's about the same depth as the width of your spars that you're making.
Yeah.
And so that's about a quarter inch down. It takes a little bit of stop cutting and angle cutting to get down that far, but that's what you end up with. That's step 3.
Okay, and Scott, the question was about the putting the super glue on the soft, the hard, the tops. Does that affect the finish
Well,
when you get to that point? Like on if you did it on the walnut with the clear coat, would that have affected the
well, if you do it on the walnut, I don't recommend doing it on the hardwood. It's only on the softwood that I would do. You know, the
but
hardwood will take care of itself
still
pretty
the
much.
same question, does the super glue affect the finish?
It won't if you use super glue to finish it.
Uh, but
And
otherwise it would, right?
it probably would if you were going to stain it or do something like that. It might, you know, if you're going to paint it, it probably wouldn't. But if you're going to stain it, the spots where the super glue is, it wouldn't take the stain up. Um, but it's mainly on the end grain is where your stain is, you know, where the super glue is going to be. So if you were to stain it with something, that would block the stain from going in the end grain and really darkening it up. You know, usually when you try and stain on end grain, it darkens quite a bit because the vessels soak up a lot more of the stain than the other uh,
So
part.
this begs the question of how you finish. Are you finishing with super glue or are you shellacking
I
it?
do. I
Yeah.
usually use super glue to finish them.
Okay.
Just an ultra thin coat of super glue over the whole thing.
Okay. We'll
And,
get back. We'll get back to that then when you get toward the end.
it doesn't. It doesn't. It helps to stabilize everything too. So you can. That's the best thing. Um, I know you were wanting me to talk about the super glue a little bit. Um, what I've found is that you can use an applicator on your super glue bottle. This is the glue that I use. This is BSI Industries uh, Instacure. It's their super thin. And then what I do is I use one of these it's a precision applicator, and it's just a little piece of tubing that they've stretched out, and it has an ultra small hole at the very end of it. And that works really well for being able to control that super thin super glue. And as I was telling Larry, I found out you can get 100 of these for $5 on Amazon. So, uh,
Is there any cautions about getting it in your eyes or skin?
oh, the super glue.
Yeah.
Well, don't get it in your eyes or on your skin. You'll pay. I've never gotten super glue in my eyes, although it is an eye irritant when you're applying it. You know, you can sting your eyes a little bit, but uh, you can't. If that's why I like using that applicator, you don't have the stuff running all over the place without you even knowing it. And super glue can get, if you get too much of it out at one time, it can get really hot. The chain reaction gets really, really hot. And so you want to be careful that you don't actually burn yourself with the super glue.
Yeah, we're trying to create a culture of safety. And so being aware of the dangers of some of the stuff, even though it's a relatively small amount, one little flick in the wrong direction is going
Yeah.
to be
And
painful.
as the bottle says, I would do it in a well ventilated area. And, uh, if you have an intolerance to super glue, I don't recommend using it. You know, if it causes you to have an asthmatic reaction or an anaphylactic reaction, by all means, do not use it.
And if you're using a lot of it, this is where I'm coming from in the finishing. We had an example where we were flooding a small box with it, and the professional that was giving the advice that do it outside and make sure the wind is blowing in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't want it blowing back in your face. So the next step that I do after, you've gotten to this point here, and now we need to figure out the perch and the bird represent a cross. I don't know if you can see this, but what you've got is the bird is in this plane, the perch is in this plane. So it represents a cross there. If you were to look at it from the top, it's a cross. The bird plane is thicker. So as you can see, I've made you can see as I hold that straight on, I left this wood in here. You can see my finger back there. I've hollowed out all along these spars and cut in behind them and removed all the wood. It's absolutely flat on this side. You can see, right? It's all flat, but on this side, I left a little bit raised, about another eighth of an inch. So you've got just about a half an inch of wood across this whole piece here, and that's where the bird is going to come out of. So this is the next step. You free the spars that have that are not part of the bird perch cross. So you've got four spars that you free out, and that allows you to make the bird perch cross in there. So that's the next step. Then let's put these over here.
And Scott, you're using that same original knife to do that stage, or did you
Actually,
switch?
no. I've switched by this point. I've switched over to, well, I used this knife up to this point. I will deepen these areas here with this knife. As I carve in, I'll deepen these and come in here, carve them, get them, this flat, this one. I'm getting mixed up here. There we go. So I'll come in and I'll just keep making stop cuts down until let's see, I'll try. How about this one? This is the perch side right here. You can see this is the ring. This is the perch on this side. I'll use this knife to make that down there and on the other side, but then I'll switch over to my thin knife here. This is the one made from the jigsaw blade to get back up behind this here and be able to take this down here and carve in this area. And how I do that, I come up to the very top and I used my knife to make a stop cut all along here. And then I'll angle cut into it like this and remove that wood all the way down to the bottom. I'll do the same on the other side, coming in just about a quarter of an inch here, and making that angled cut in, stop cuts and angled cuts until you sort of meet through the middle. And then once you get a hole done through the middle, you can remove all of this area, the wood in behind the spar. And then you can clean up along the bird side here and the perch side here, and it comes to you can see it's pretty much a 90-degree pie shape back in here. So
Is the risk of breakage pretty small at this point?
You have a risk. Risk is in these free spars, but that's why I don't know if you can see it or not, but on the upper part of the spar, I've left this a little bit thicker right in here. And that helps you to maintain that from breakage. It'll get thinner after we go ahead and get a little further along in the process. It will get thinner. But at this point, this one, yes. On this one, you can't really tell it, but I already soaked these spars, the tops of them, with cyanoacrylate glue, the 4 spars. And the next one, I go ahead and I soaked all of these. You can sort of tell it, they're a little bit more shiny where I put the cyanoacrylate glue on there. And that has stabilized all of those bars. But you can see what I'm doing now on the perch. We're just, let's see, where's my perch? There. I drew in the perch. I'm leaving these, there's a good example. I drew in the area that's got to be removed for the perch, or the trapeze, I guess you would call it. Well, I call it the perch. Then I'm leaving it attached though to this one spar between there and there. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm hollowing out on the bottom. You draw across the part of the perch where the bird is sitting is, and it's hard to show it without getting a spar in the way, but you can see down here, this is where the bottom of where the bird is going to sit. This is going to be the bird's feet right here, this little piece that's hanging down right here. And then the hanger in the top of the cage is going to be right here. That's on the bird side of the thing, on each side. And then where the perch runs through the hanger, that's on right here. And it's coming through it makes another small cross. And what you know is that the bird's head has to be below that hanger up here. How best to describe? Well, here we'll move over to this one here. You can see on this one, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've carved out. This is the hanger right here, and this is the perch right over here. And you can see I've carved out with my jigsaw knife all this out in between the perch and the hanger, and then also between the perch and the top of the cage. And that ends up looking like that. I've also carved out, I've left a piece up here and a piece down here on the perch, but I've carved this part out right in here on each side right there. And that is what's going to hold the perch in place. And I don't know if you can see, I've drawn my little birdie. He's right there, my little parrot on the side. So that tells me that all this wood is going to have to come away. I did leave I'm going to leave a piece between the bird and this spar, and you can see where that's at there. And then on the back side, what'll happen is I'll leave a piece between the primary feathers and this spar, and that stabilizes the bird. These other sprues stabilize the perch until you get the whole thing all carved the way you want it. And it's very tempting to want to release the bird from, to let everything flop around before you are done. And that makes it exponentially harder and exponentially riskier for a breakage or something potentially bad happening. One of the things also at this point, when you've got this here, this area you can see this is cross grain right here. The top of the perch is cross grain. The bottom of the hanger is cross grain. And the bottom of the perch right here is all cross grain. So this is a good time to get that cyanoacrylate glue out again and put a little dribble all along, right along there, along the upper part on the underside here. You would want to put it right down in there. You see where my knife is going? It's going to the top of the, or the bottom of the perch, but where the cross grain is. And the same thing on this side right here, where the top of the hanger is, you want to do it on that. And then on the bottom of the perch, let's see if I can get a good angle on that, right there. This area right down here, you would want to dribble some cyanoacrylate glue right along there. And that strengthens the perch and the bird so that you don't have any untoward accidents. Now you'll notice that when I'm up to this stage, already starting to cut down on those spars a little bit. This one's pretty thick. Well, this one, I started thinning them down just a little bit. You kind of need to in order to get some room to be able to carve these things in here. And so that is that's you're up to the point where you're going to carve the bird. And so the next step is to go ahead and carve the bird. And how many people you have that are bird? What I do, you can see the bird in there, right? Look where its head is. It's forward of this spar, and the breast is forward of this spar. The tail and the wings are behind the spar. You have to kind of guesstimate that you're leaving as much wood on each side so that the bird hangs in a balanced fashion. You can sort of play around with it, but it helps to draw your design so that it's more like that. And so this is the parrot in here. You can see this spar is holding him up here at his breast. I have not released the flight feathers yet from this spar. And then we've got these two spars right here holding the perch steady. Everything else is disconnected. And you can see everything. There's a space up there through there. There's another space in here, right there. Everything's all disconnected except for those areas. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas where it's connected still. And I've gone ahead and on this one I did what I told you. I took some cyanoacrylate glue and I dribbled it along this area here. Same on this side. I did some just on the underside of this area right here on each side. And then the same thing up here, up under there. And and the same thing on the hanger up right up under there. And so I promised Larry that I would go ahead and carve him loose right now. Is that all right? Fire away.
We're ready to go.
Okay.
It will not break. This is live TV.
So the way to do it is to go ahead and come in here. And what you're going to do is you're going to work from the perch side first. Get a good, but I'm just making it stop right where right there. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I turned my head. I'm sorry. I'm going to come in with an angling cut. Let's see if I can move this over just a little. That way I can keep my head pointed toward the speaker, the microphone. I should have put the Bluetooth mic on, Larry.
That's okay.
So you can see what I'm doing here.
So you're putting quite a bit of pressure at, you can still put a fair amount of pressure at that point to make that
Well,
cut.
I've got my knife pretty dead sharp.
Mm,
And you can see I'm just holding it like I would a pencil almost. So not a lot of pressure.
mm.
Um, but I'm coming in here, and you notice which one I picked first to cut loose is the one with the most cross grain, because I've still got the other spars to hold everything in place while I get the most delicate ones taken out. And you can see I'm almost through. Just make an angling cut and a stop cut. Stop cut, and one more angling cut right here.
So sharp is key.
Sharp is critical, and if you find that your knife is dragging even a little bit, it's best to hone it up. And now you can see this one is just about through, right about there. That one's through. So then what I'll do is I'll just keep working on this sprue. A lot of people would think, oh, I'm going to just come back here and cut it off. But a lot of times that can actually cause trouble. You want to work slowly and carefully through the there. There's,
So you're cutting it through all from one side. You're not doing half and half.
right. And like chopping through a log almost, you could say. It's very similar to like chopping through a log. And you can see I'm actually through on that side. Now I'll just keep coming back here like this. And just there we go. We're through. But then before I go on to the next one, I'm going to carve this off flush with the spar. Do that. And then over on this side, I'm going to sneak up in here. I'm going to head and finish off the perch. Now, at a certain point, you can say, well, you do this all with knives. And I try to, because I don't, if you use sandpaper, um, uh, it's, it can, and you see what I'm doing right here. There's just this tiniest little tab right there. And I'm just going to take that one off. Sandpaper is silica grit, various types of grit. And sandpaper, when you use it on wood, it impregnates itself into the wood. And if you have any more carving to do on a piece and you've sanded it, then what you're doing is you're dulling your knife, because those silica chunks and pieces will go ahead and impact the edge of your knife and take little chunks out of it.
So
Still,
the perch is still attached at the top. So at this point, you're still not quite, you're still not entirely risky because you still
Right.
have some support at the top.
Yeah. That last, that puts a, you know, where you've got the most running across these. So these are the most delicate two sides right here. And that's where I've experienced that the perch wants to break right there. And so if you do those sides, you know,
Your audio is still kind of slipping in and out in the last
I
10
had my
seconds.
head turned.
Okay,
Sorry. How's that? Is that better?
good. Yeah.
And then so so you can see I'm just stop, cut, angling, cut, more angling, cut. That one didn't fall out. So right there, see that piece didn't fall out. A lot of folks, they'd want to, well, I'm going to dig in there and pry in there and get it out. Well, that puts pressure on everything else up here. And you don't want to do that. You want to make that chip fall out. You don't want it to be pried out. So just keep cutting until it comes away. And we'll just keep um, cutting.
Is that knife you made, Scott, thinner than a typical detail knife? Or it
Um,
is about the same thickness but just longer?
it is thinner.
Is
It's
it thin?
about 1 millimeter thick. And what this is a uh, anyway, I don't know who, but this was an all-purpose wood cutting jigsaw blade. And when it had teeth on it, it was 3/8 of an inch from the back of the blade to the tip of the teeth. And so what I did was I filed off the teeth with a metal file, and then that made it a 1/4 inch. The thickness, I believe, is 1 millimeter thick, and that's pretty usual standard for a jigsaw blade. And then the length of the blade is 1 3/4 inches from the base of the handle to the end of the tip, just under 1 3/4 of an inch. And that's ideal for carving on a 4 inch, a 8/4 block where you've got 2 inches. You can get in, you still have enough room to get in. You can carve on something as deep as about 3 inches with this knife, and you can still get in and still have enough room to be able to get at the places where you need to get at.
Yeah. Where I'm coming from, mere humans who don't have to make their own blade, if they had access to a long blade, let's say 1 3/4, which was a little thicker, would that still work?
Um,
Or is the thickness going to get in the way?
the what I found is that the 1/4 inch from the back from here, the 1/4 inch is important.
So
You know,
thin, so not as deep, I guess.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and just to show you, I have another knife that I made. This one's out of a metal cutting jigsaw blade, and you can see it's just a smidge more in thickness, from the back end of the blade to the it's like 1/16 more than a 1/4 inch. And while it's good for carving chains and balls and cages and stuff, on this one I found that it starts running into things.
Hmm.
And so the thinness of that blade is pretty critical. And this one, by the way, is a 17 teeth per inch uh, metal cutting jigsaw blade that I made this one out of. And it has different steel in it. It's much harder steel than the all-purpose wood cutting blade. So this one's easier to sharpen, but it gets dull quicker. This one, once you've sharpened it up, it stays sharp a long time. and it's a pretty nice knife. Uh, this knife I made a double bevel, which means it's beveled on both sides. This knife only has one side beveled. I don't know if you can see that. This is
Yeah.
beveled side there. This is the straight side. And this one, it's almost like carving with a chisel. You have, so it's important to put the bevel on the correct side for your hand. I'm right-handed, so this one works very well to for a right-hander, but it wouldn't work as well for a left-hander. You'd have to bevel this side for a left-hander. So I digress. So we've gone ahead and I've got this one through. So I just need to carve off the this here. Now it's less risky carving it. You want to carve the most risky area first. It's less risky coming up against this spar because even though the spar is thin, it's running with the grain. So you don't have any problems with cross-grained uh, weakness on the spars. So there's that. We'll clean up the bottom of the perch here.
Scott, there was a background question about the shape of the blade that you made. Is it meant to resemble a narwhal whale?
Oh, um, quite unintentionally, I guess it does. Um, here's my sheath. I made a bald eagle out of it myself, but you can carve anything. That would be make an interesting sheath, make a narwhal with his curled horn up there. But uh, no, it's actually strictly utilitarian. um, it's meant for getting into places on tricky little carvings like birds in cages. So so I've gone ahead and I've cut off the uh, two bottom ones. We're going to leave these two for the last up above there. The next part I'm going to work on is basically this tail or the the flight feathers. And I'm going to go ahead and just carve through those real quick. Got this side carved through, and carve through the other side here. Try to round them as much as I could.
Your head tip here. There we go.
Yeah, you can see the slice come through there. And now it's a little flat, so I'm just going to come in here, paying attention to grain, and I'm going to round the bird off just a little bit. Same on this side, down here. We're just going to round them off just a smidge, and you can see it flex. That's why you have to be really careful. You don't want to crack him off of there just yet. And remember, we've still got the breast holding the bird on there. We got that one rounded. We're going to round the top of it a little bit. And we want a little bit of space between the spar and the back of the primaries. So I'm going to remove a little more of the spar here. That. You can see we've got a pretty healthy space going in there right now, right here. And to go ahead and and work on the breast. Now, this is where you're going to have a little bit of, you want this to, it's going to, the only thing it'll be holding it will be the upper two. So we're going to just go ahead and work on right at the breast of the bird there. We're already through, see? It's going to cut this part off.
So the bird is fully carved. You're not going to relieve it until all the detail is done on the bird?
That's correct. You
Right.
don't want to, I put his little eyes in. I've done the mouth, and I've got all the details done on the bird. And even sometimes what you'll want to do is you'll want to paint the bird before you release it. And that way you only have a little tiny bit of painting to do while the thing is all flopping around. And
Otherwise, it's flopping around.
yeah, otherwise it's flopping around. It becomes a big problem because I don't know about you, but it's hard. You see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get in there and hold that thing. And it's hard because your fingers don't want to fit between those bars too well.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that this whole perch is only attached right where the feet are. It's very flexy, very flexible, and you don't want to have to be flexing and all of a sudden hear a bad little noise, a little crack or something. And here we'll just go ahead and just taking off the rest of that spar back. See what's going on with the bird. He's got a little flat spot on his chest. We're going to go ahead and round that as best we can. If I do need to like chase fuzzies or something out of a carving, I like to use, instead of sandpaper, I have these diamond riffler files. And where are my diamond? So this is a diamond riffler file right here. And if I want to say I want to like this chest here, I want to, the beauty of the diamond riffler file is that it very rarely leaves any kind of grit in your carving, and it works as well as sandpaper. And I forget where I got these. I probably got them off of Amazon, but they come in sets of about, I think, a dozen or something like that, all different shapes to them, so that you can sneak into all different angles of corners and things like that, and smooth flat areas, or do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
So you can see we've got the bird pretty well rounded here.
So you're still working on the bird. You're violating your own rule, is that right?
Well, no, I'm working on him. Just you have to, where the sprue was, where the spar was, it's flat. So there are no flat spots on a bird. And so where the spar was flat, you just have to round that. And so there we are.
Okay.
It's pretty. I've got one little spot right here, and we're just that up. And the same thing, even if you paint it, you're going to have a spot where you aren't going to have any paint because there was a spar there. And so you are going to have to work on it, but you have to be really careful. And then this is the spar just goes back, the sprue goes back to the front spar there, and we just carve that off there. So we're down to the drum roll.
Mm.
We've got two spars left. So I'm just going to come up here.
At this point, Scott, will you go all the way through on that one? Or you kind of go 75% of the way through and then go to the other one, or?
Um, what I found is that I'm right-handed, so it's always good for me to carve with it on my right side. So like this one, I'll go through this way, then I'll flip it over, go through this one from the back side on
Uh,
this way. But that's because my strong hand, my most controlling hand. If I was to try and cut
so
in,
mind your head, Scott, because you're cutting in and out.
oh, I'm sorry, I turned away again.
But a
Sorry.
left hand, so that would imply a left-hander would do it the opposite. Just
That
mind your
yes,
handedness. So,
yeah, mind your handedness. Do what's comfortable for you, I guess is what I would say. Um, how's that?
yeah, that's good.
Getting a little over too far away from the computer. Next time, Larry, I'm using that Bluetooth mic. There, we're through on that one. See it? Just see that move?
Oh.
Now, I've got to take this out of the way. Break. We've got enough room out of the way. I'm just going to go ahead and take this off all the way back to the spar.
Now, how do you get that little piece off?
Yeah, see, and this is where it's real delicate. See, this is all attached there.
You
So
try to
now you
hold,
want to try
get
and
the finger in there.
and I've been using my glove. This is a you can see it's not your normal carving glove. This is a stainless steel meat cutter's glove. This is the one I like to use because most of the gloves that you buy for carving, they're number 5 on the cut scale. And this stainless steel meat cutter's glove, it's got a stainless steel shell, and it's got a, if I pull it off, because I'm going to have to hold that in there, it's got a Kevlar liner that goes underneath it. And so you got double protection there. And but on this one, I'm going to need my fingers free so that I can stabilize this while I'm, you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to get in there and just sort of holding the bird a little bit in there while I go ahead and come in and carve out the just, I want to try and keep that as still as possible while I come in here.
Okay, and Anna asked, "Is there a pattern available?" And yes, there is, Anna, and it'll get emailed out. Scott has a hand sketch, and then one of our members, Russ Lawrence, digitized that, so it'll be in a PDF that you can then scale, and it'll be on the email when you get the notice of the recording, and it'll also be posted on our website eventually. Eventually being 3 or 4 days.
And you can see, so we're just trying to match things up now from one side to the other, as far as the see, I've still got a line in there, so I want to. And then you can also come in here if you've got a line and you don't think you can get it with the knife, you can come in here with that diamond riffler and just kind of scrub it off until it matches up. Okay, folks,
Down to the
down
last
to
one.
one left. You can see everything's loose. You can see how loose that bird is in there. And the good thing is that this area right here, now I'm gonna have to turn it over and carve from this side because we're gonna just try and again I'm gonna actually come in here and try and stabilize some of this. You can see what I'm doing. I'm grabbing the perch in between my thumb and forefinger there inside the cage, and I'm just gonna come and I'm there. You can see it better that way. making a stop cut, a series of stop cuts, just a little bit deeper each time. I come back in here and take that little piece out.
Scott, when you make one of these for your Christmas exchange thing, how long does it take you? How long do you plan on?
Hey, look at that.
Wow,
There we are.
it's singing,
It's swinging,
singing and swinging.
singing and swinging. And so I'm just going to come and I'll answer your question in a minute while I get this cleaned up.
Yeah.
It was great for me to make the go by the study.
Lift your hands up a little bit, Scott.
Oh, I'm
There we,
sorry.
there we go.
It was great for me to make the study because I never really paid attention to how long it takes me to make a bird in a cage. And I have to say, it takes me about 40 hours to make a bird in a cage. And this is probably the 50th or so bird in a cage. So it takes some time. You can't just, sit down of an evening and make a bird in a cage. But that's what carving's about. It's about patience and you know, uh, if you feel like you need to sit down and think about it, just put it up and think about it a little bit. I also have to say, I've made plenty of mistakes and broken plenty of bird cages. So it's not it it's it's how do I want to say, practice makes perfect.
Do you always carve with your glove? Or are you confident enough to not do that?
Well, I try always to carve with my glove because a lot of people, wow, that's silly. I didn't, and then next thing you know, you're hoping you didn't cut a tendon or wow, I'm not feeling my pinky finger. And there have been times, I'd say the worst cut that I've had, I needed 3 stitches and I had nicked an artery. And they didn't have to go in and operate and close up the artery because it was only nicked, but he put 3 stitches in the incision, and the next morning my hand was black and blue up to my halfway up my arm. And is that normal? He says, yeah, it'll bleed in there until the pressure equalizes, then it'll heal up. I was like, no, I don't want to do that again. So I wear my glove.
Okay,
So,
we'll give you a clap, Scott. Practice does make perfect, huh? So
and there we are.
yeah,
There's
you
a
bet.
swinging bird in there. So
That's good.
so he's loose and he's swinging around. Now I'll go ahead and clean it up with the file, like in this area here. You can see there's a few little fuzzies right here, and I'll just go ahead and scrub those off with my diamond riffler, and you can just get those things cleaned off, and you've got a bird in a cage there,
Yeah.
and he's swinging loose, and now I've
Scott,
got
Scott, Scott, there was a question about when did you loosen the swing? That was early in the process, right?
yeah.
At the top, I assume the link at the top.
Oh, up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I'll go back to. Uh, so this is when it's carved, right? Uh, and I've got the bird drawn in there, but you can see I've already that's already through up there, up
Yeah.
up underneath there, and it's already through in between the perch and the hanger.
But it's not released yet.
No, what's holding it are the sprues here, running from the spar over to the perch. So that's all holding it in place there. And the same thing with the now this one you don't I haven't carved the bird yet. I just drawn him on, and you know what this means, Larry? I'm going to have to make another one all the way up to where I cut the bird loose because
Darn.
now I won't have another one. I have
Another 30 hours. Huh? But you also carved the ring at the top pretty early. I mean, that you just got that out of the way.
yeah, I carved what number two. It's just a tab. Number three, I went ahead and it's already octagonal. And number four, I've made it. I've rounded it quite a bit. And number five is where it's I cut the hole through, and you can see it's quite thick still. But I cut the hole through, and how you do that. I'll go back to four here, and essentially you draw on your where you want it to be in here. I'll like flip it over on this way, but everything on this is you try and stay with the grain. You're going to make a stop cut from up above here, quartering down like this, quartering down here, and you're going to stop there. And then you're going to make a stop cut from here, quartering up like this until you run into that stop cut. And the same thing on the other side. You have to start over here and work downward. And then the same thing, come in here and work upward. And then you're just going to come back in and make angling cuts on those stop cuts. The other way to do it is to just start in the middle here and just make a diamond. Just cut here, cut here. You always try and be with the grain. So I'm turning it over and I'm cutting here and cutting here. And you can see a little diamond pop out of there, rough diamond. And that's the start of your hole. Now, this is if you want to, whittle it through. You can use a drill and drill it through if you want, but I like using the knife. It develops your skills and it teaches you about grain.
Mind your head. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It develops your skills. It teaches you about grain and which way that you can cut. You can see I'm cutting this way and cutting this way, and then I'll go back over and cut this way, here, over here. And I'm flying without a glove, so I'm going to be very careful here. But you can see I've already got a pretty good hole started there.
Yeah.
And we'll you just keep doing that until you get it through, and then you just swoop up with the grain each of the quadrants until you run into the sides, but you want to keep it fairly thick while you're in the middle stages. I only thinned this one down, at the very last to where when we want it, you just want to have everything done before you free that bird loose in the cage. And now it's just a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of fuzzies on the sprues that are on the spars, and he'll be ready for. You can paint him. He can. I'm thinking a blue macaw for this one. So we'll paint him.
Are you painting on the super thin super glue with a brush, or are you squirting it and painting it? How do you get that much on? That's a lot of.
When I'm finishing it, when I finish it, yeah, you just squirt it on from the bottle onto the wood, and you'd be surprised how quick it goes, how quickly it can if you're not careful, it'll run right down your sleeve and glue your sleeve to your wrist. It's that
And
runny.
and be careful of fumes.
Yes, yes, yes. You don't want to do it inside. You want to always try and do that outside. So,
Super glue tends to dry pretty rough. Do you have to sand it afterwards? Do you but not
um,
you knock
you
off?
can. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll just use one coat, and we'll, hope for the best at that point. If you use one coat of super thin, it stays pretty. There's no, it doesn't build up any crystallizations or anything. It's the thicker ones, the maxi cure and the medium cure that they actually develop uh, little spikes and wavy areas and things that, yeah, you will have to go back through with your riffler file and smooth them out, and then reapply over the top of that after you're done with that.
Okay.
So I try and keep it just a one coat. That keeps it, that sort of thing from happening.
Okay. So Kimberly asked whether butternut would be a good wood.
I've never tried it. It's in the Juglans family, so it could work. I would think that it's going to be just a little bit structurally less stable than, say, walnut, but it probably would work very well. It's an open grained wood. The other thing too about butternut is, you're not really going to finish it, paint it. So you can go ahead and use the super glue on it and just super glue the whole thing when you're done with it. So anyway, so
The founder of our club was a guy named Mac Sutter. He was one of four, but he was the primary driver. And he did a lot of very fragile relief carvings, deeply undercut. And he wrote, his work was published in Dover, a couple of Dover magazines on floral carving. And he talked about strengthening the wood. And he strengthened it with a mix of alcohol and shellac instead of super glue. And
right.
then he finished everything with shellac.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there would be, I'll put a note out, I'll clip out the few sentences um, from that book in the notes that come out of this, because that would be an issue, that would be another way to finish it with shellac instead of super glue, which from my sense of safety, that would be another alternative.
Right. Same principle.
Yeah,
You're running a hard liquid up into the vessels that's going to solidify and strengthen everything.
yeah. And
Yes.
on many of his projects, he would just he was a relief. He would just do the whole thing, strengthen the whole thing, and not just worry about the fragile parts. And he just kind of blank carpet bombed it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's- and that can be done with the bird in the cage too, if uh, but one thing I do caution is it's more difficult to cut through cyanoacrylate glue. And, if you get it in an area where you need to cut through, you're going to be applying some pressure to it, which can really uh, increase the risk.
Yeah. Scott, there's another question. Have you ever done any large ones, like a life-size parrot?
I you're hitting into my bucket list there.
Hmm.
I have that idea that I want to do one out of, say, about a 12-inch log or something like that. Yeah. The trick will be finding a log that's perfectly cured with no splits in it. And um, because people just won't believe you. No, you didn't carve all that in there. So anyway,
What wood would you contemplate?
oh, I would probably go, well, I don't know. Uh, if you can get a, like some of the trees around here, we have Monterey cypress trees, and that wood is really hard. So I would have no qualms about carving one out of Monterey cypress if I could get a nice chunk of it. And even if I could get what I would think would be if you could get a quarter sawn piece that's 12 inches, that would be great. And you would want to get it from a spot where there were no knots in it.
Yeah.
So
The only other question I see, Scott, is about the specs on your glove. Is there a source? Is that unique to you? Is there a common?
I got it off of Amazon. Um, just search for meat cutter's glove.
Is it a cut level 10, or do you know what the spec is?
It's level 9 of 10.
Level 9. Okay.
Most of the Carvers gloves that are available are at level 5, and I like a level 9. I had the accident where I let's see what yeah, that was when I was that one. I was cutting on. Oh, that was the walnut bird that I had. That this one here, this walnut bird here. So I was cutting like this, and I was using a palm chisel, a palm handle chisel with a skew on it, and I was running up these lines here to make the spars, and I slipped, and I don't know if you can see on my thumb, but my thumb nail is all wrinkly
Hmm.
now, and that's because I buried that skew about right here in the nail bed of my finger. That was, of course, 1986. I didn't know about protective gloves. The only kind of protective gloves I had seen was a leather glove, basically, which would have done no good. And so that's always a reminder. I've got a little scar here and it buried itself in the nail bed and rearranged the nail bed so that my nail is always wrinkly up here. So do wear your glove. It's important. Um,
So, has anybody tackled this with power carving? You could at least do some of the work of relieving. Do you have anybody power carving these things?
I haven't. I haven't seen anybody power carve a bird yet. But I'll tell you what, if I did a 12-inch one, I might try power carving, but you might have to modify the I would probably try and use an impact carver on it if I could. And
Impact. I mean, just
yeah,
sort of an air-driven
no,
taking stuff.
like a Proxon, um, oh gosh, what do they call them? Or a oh makes who makes those? Um, they it relies on it's like a wheel that turns like a cam and it makes the blade go back and forth.
Reciprocating kind of thing.
Yeah, it's and but it takes pressure. You have to push on it, and then it turns itself on. And it pulls out. Proxon makes one. Um, I forget what the other brands are that make them, but
Okay.
I have a Proxon one. But they're pretty short, so you would have to find longer blades to get very far into it. So anyway,
Doug mentioned here that Automock is one of the brands that
there you go.
they do that. Scott, why don't you switch cameras? We're probably
Sure.
there'd be some other questions. One of Simon asked uh, a different kind of question is, can you share what other projects you were working on? What other projects are you working on?
What
Like
other?
like Santa Clauses.
Oh, let me grab him here. Just
Scott's teaching a class in his weekly meetings.
I love being able to have a progression, a study of things to present to folks, and I asked everybody if they wanted to make a Santa Claus here. You can see Santa Claus here, and he's got a little bag of toys. He's got a little candy cane, a little dolly, and a present. Oh, there we go. A little present over here, and then in the back, he's got a little mouse. Actually, it's a little bear, little teddy bear down the back. And people seem to want to make that. So I went ahead and made myself a progression of how you start over here. This is the cutout, and of course you do that. This is 2-inch thick basswood, and you draw your center lines on there, and you get it all, get his face all drawn on. Then we have the profile, getting the hood rounded, getting the face cut back, getting the robe rounded around there. And then we have this guy, and you can see we've cut in his arms here. And on this side, we've left the bag, and then this is basically almost done. He's got the bag with the toys in it, and he's got the little bear in the back. And on this one, I had enough wood where I could make an additional present over here. And so he's there. What I hadn't done on this one, which is done on this one, is the grooves in the beard, and then the scalloping on the frock around his jacket, and the cuffs, and the hem of his. Let's see, this is the finished product, and I've got quite a few. We do spoons, right in keeping with the time of year, the month of February. We have a go by for a linked set of hearts. You can see this is your linked set of hearts here. So this is an easy 2-hour project. I say 2-hour project. For me, it's 2 hours. For a beginner, it might be 2 weeks. But this is all done in pine. Actually, this is a pine 2x2, and you mark it out. There's your marks. How you carve the, you can see this is how you carve out to make the cross, and this is the cross with the hearts drawn on it there. And then we've got this one here is your hearts. You can see they haven't been cut out yet. And then of course this one, everything's all cut out except for the 2 spots, one right here and one right here, that as soon as you cut through those, you've released the heart, and then you can clean it all up and do all sorts of things. I don't know. My fun thing is doing whimsies and balls in cages and
But you've done a lot in your carving career. You did birds, right? You did a bird, like one year bird project.
yeah, unfortunately, I got into I loved carving competition showbirds for like the Pacific Flyway. There used to be a show down in San Diego, decoy carving show. I've carved cinnamon teal, wood duck, drake. I've carved. We did a class. We did a little. This was a class that we did in our group just a year ago, or 2 years ago actually. And this is a little ruddy duck drake and a little smoothie. They call this a decorative smoothie, and so that's fun. And I like carving. I really love carving quail. My best carving, my magnum opus so far has been a female quail. I got second best of show at a Nevada show with that one. But unfortunately, I've sold all those. So, you know, it keeps me carving. It keeps me, if they hang around, I don't carve them anymore. So I have to get rid of them in order to carve something else. I've also done, this is a study for a flat spiral for, say, a spoon handle. And you can see, this is the spiral, how it starts out, how you mark it out over here. This is the stick of wood cut into inches. You make these lines, cut on those lines, and then you can see it just starts. You can see as you cut on those lines, you start seeing that spiral coming out. I drilled holes in the area where the void is going to be over here. I cut holes in there so that it gives you a roadmap to show where you go. This is the next one where you're actually connecting up all those areas where you cut out, and this is how it is a rough cutout, and then of course the final project there. But so spoons, balls and cages, wildfowl. For a while, I was into gun stocks, decorating gun stocks and doing checkering and doing wildlife scenes on gun stocks, which I probably received about 50 cents an hour for that. And so anyway.
Okay, and another question is, do you have favorite books, magazines on carving?
Oh, um, well, I've got quite a few. Um, I have to say, I'm a avid subscriber to Wood Carving Illustrated. Um, I really loved it was just called Carving. It was a magazine that was, I think it ran from the early 2000s to about 2013 or so, I would say. And I just really loved that magazine because they had such great patterns in there, and things that you felt like you could pick up and do. And so I like those. I also get there's another wood carving magazine that comes from England, and I you can't I don't know if you can subscribe to it yet in America, but if you go to Barnes and Nobles, you can pick it up every month at Barnes and Nobles. But
I,
it's not cheap. It's about $10 a mag. So
I think it's called wood carving. Uh,
yeah, wood carving. Yeah,
but for those in the metro area, our club has a complete set of the carving magazine set, and we also have a complete set of wood carving illustrated that can't be checked out, but they're here in the library. And we got tons of extra duplicate copies of both. And anybody that shows up at one of our meetings, we're continually trying to get them to carry them off.
there you go. So,
Right.
but
Well, it's getting late. People are rolling off.
I see.
Some people on the East Coast are probably long in the eyes or short in the eyes, right, Diane? So we'll kind of probably pull it together. Scott, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is great. This was not quite falling off a log for you, but it was a lot of work, and I appreciate your work. Appreciate your friendship and support, and it's been great.
Well, I love helping people learn how to carve.
Yeah, well, you're doing a good job. I really appreciate it. Okay, we'll pull the plug, everybody. I'll hang around in case anybody has a personal question or a club question. You're welcome to stay around, Scott, of course. I'll remove the spotlight and we'll get back to that, and assuming we're all going to bed. But